Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are listening. I am Richard Murray, and welcome to my audio thoughts to the beautiful game and reply to Football Crazy episode 102. Football Crazy has Kale Murray on Twitter as KAYLMURRAY. Kev formerly now since he's left for Atlanta United, all the best to him, is on Twitter as Kevegan, Kev underscore EGAN. And Des Norris is on Twitter as Partito Pooper, Partidopooper. Pertinent links are in the transcript in my African American Literary Book Club blog post, linked in the description to this video. Before I speak on the show, in women's soccer, congratulations to Olympique Lyonnais for defeating FC Barcelona and winning a treble, their 13th domestic championship, 8th domestic cup, 4th UEFA Champions League Cup. Utterly brilliant. I know all the French players at Olympique Lyonnais have their eye on one prize now, the World Cup, which will be held in France this coming summer. And to the World Cup, Heather O'Reilly tweeted against Ada Hegerberg, who plays for Norway, in a very negative way. The link is in the transcript. I think in the future, many female players from the USA may regret their successful past when UEFA may have a powerful era in women's soccer starting with the French World Cup. But the reality is, the Confederation of African Football, or CAF, the Asian Football Confederation, or AFC, the Confederation of Sudamericano Futebol, or CONMEBOL, and the Confederation of Central and North American and Caribbean Football, CONCACAF, have only themselves to blame. UEFA didn't start women's soccer over 100 years ago. We all watched in modernity as UEFA grabbed women's soccer as a confederation while all the other confederations seemed totally disorganized to do the same. Even though fiscally women's soccer in UEFA, the Union of European Football Associations, is not financially a juggernaut or unreachable financially by other confederations. All the confederations outside UEFA simply have ran the race poorer than UEFA. But all the confederations started at the same time. Shame on them. Players like O'Reilly from the USA being bitter towards a UEFA player like Ada Hegerberg is missing the better point. Why couldn't US Soccer or CONCACAF simply do better? It wasn't money that failed US Soccer or the rest of the football world outside UEFA. It was and is organization, the structure to their bodies. Also, I linked in the transcript a great video from the German women's team. I didn't know they were given a tea set when they won their first World Cup. I Wow, I didn't know that. I think that's kind of sad in a deep way. The football crazy segment begins now. um, to 52 seconds segment. Gary Bailey alone joins K Murray. Um, Mr. Bailey's on Twitter as Gary underscore Bailey 1, GARY underscore BAILEY 1. Um, 52 seconds La Liga segment. Zidane is the coach of Real Madrid, and he comprehends that with a lot of money demands a lot of focused control. Every player counts, every position counts, and synergy matters. Bailey suggests that Zidane was nasty to Bale by not playing him, but I suggest that Zidane is one of those players who treats players as he want or was treated, a no-nonsense way. I agree that Real Madrid is risk-reward for Zidane, but I think that is why Mourinho went back to Chelsea and went into Manchester United. The challenge matters. Kike Setien, the recent former coach of Real Betis, Kay suggested may go to Juventus. I don't know what to say. Bailey made the truest point to Valverde. Results paper over problems to any coach. The real problem for Barcelona, I repeat, is post-Messi. 13th minute and 51 seconds, Mbappe slash Neymar segment. Kay suggests Mbappe is speaking to move or have more power. But I think his point is I am not thinking about moves and I want to do better no matter what. I still feel Neymar and Mbappe is better together in PSG than apart. Bailey's point that Mbappe may want to go for the opportunity is interesting. What people forget is that Neymar has won the top trophy for every club he has been on. 18 minutes and 38 seconds. Title defense segment. PSG, Bayern, Juventus, Barcelona, Manchester City all defended their title this year. Galatasaray even made the double. One year, last year they were champions, and this year they were champions too. But they are not financially in the top tier in UEFA. Kay suggested leads to a Super League, though she doesn't support it necessarily, and though Bailey seems to have a support for it, albeit not considering how it's going to be formatted. And thus, here is my UEFA Super League will be speech. Assuming the UEFA Super League will be, what is the basis to the league being created? What are the problems? What are the solutions? The basis of any UEFA Super League is money. That is well known. Commonly stated, but I think not put in context properly. A league based on financial entry doesn't relate to the Football Association geographic mold. That is why Ajax can make it to the UEFA Champions League final but will never be in the will be UEFA Super League. Ajax is too financially poor to be in the UEFA Super League. This means any UEFA Super League will have to not be participated in by all member football associations of UEFA. The basis of a UEFA Super League is a league where finances is the determining factor to entry and it will exclude most of the football associations in UEFA. Now, the problems in the form of questions. If England has a top six financially, shouldn't the countries to the fiscal similars to the English top six outside England in UEFA get the same number of spots? What happens when a team's finances change? Leeds, Sunderland, Saint Etienne, Malaga, Marseille all used to be big money clubs at one time or another, the top big money clubs. Their finances changed. If Chelsea's owner changed his fiscal strategy, what happens in the Super League? What happens when a fiscally weaker team is just simply better? The reality is, Monaco in France, Leicester in England, Dortmund in Germany overcame their fiscal betters at one time or another recently. How do you reward quality from fiscally weaker teams when it is better than fiscally stronger teams? What about the anger from the poorer fiscal teams when they are denied the media attraction of facing the fiscal top clubs? What do you tell the champion in Ukraine when they are unable to face a big money team? What happens if so many teams are above the fiscal bar that the UEFA Super League requires relegation or promotion? What happens if a team outside the Western Europe top five countries warrants the fiscal entry? These are my answers. They're not organized by questions, they're just given as best I could formulate them. The idea of teams earning into the Super League by finances is fine. But while finances is the key, merit is the shoes one wear to walk through the door. Meaning, no matter how many spots a country get into the UEFA Super League, their Tier 1 domestic table decides what teams are in that spot. For example, when Monaco defeated PSG in the Ligue 1 race, Monaco should get the spot into the UEFA Super League PSG's money earned. Make the fiscal top earners warrant a spot, but don't give it to them based on money, or some can act like the New York Knicks in the NBA in the USA, New York Rangers in the NHL in the USA, NBA being National Basketball Association, NHL being National Hockey League, New York Yankees in Major League Baseball in the United States of America. These are teams that are the highest earners financially, but in recent times perform, act really as a bottom team athletically. Make sure PSG, Manchester United are even more eager to finish in the UEFA Super League places. The concept of finance earning a spot, but it being given to the one who sit in a certain place in a domestic table is the best defense against financial wobbles. Again, just because a team is wealthy now does not mean they'll be wealthy tomorrow. If Chelsea or Atletico Madrid financially stumble, for whatever reason, and drop mid-table in La Liga EPL, why should they be in the UEFA Super League? What if they drop off quality while in the Super League? Do they want to stay in the Super League? I don't think so. You can't guarantee physical quality long term, so protect the system by not giving it in perpetuity to a club. Now, what about the quantity of teams? Let's be honest. By the current idea floated around, England has 6, Spain 3, France 1, Italy 1, Germany 1. That is 12 teams. 50% are from England. That can't be acceptable to any other country or UEFA. The best thing to do is look at the number of games from the group stage to the final in the UEFA Champions League and the number of countries the top physical clubs come from. From the group stage of the UEFA Champions League to a UEFA Champions League final is 15 games around about. Let us add another one for meat, and that is 16 games. 16 games equate to 8 opponents or a 9-team league using the round-robin model. If we assume England, France, Spain, Germany, Italy, 5 countries, have teams that will play their domestic top championship, while this UEFA Super League, it will take 4 more teams to equal the 9 to reach 16 games for all clubs. Now assume Bayern, PSG, Juventus once in, but can only accept 1 entry from all countries. Then we are short the 18 matches, but 2 more spots can be given into the UEFA Super League. One is the champion of the UEFA Champions League, the other is the champion of the UEFA Europa League. If you have 1 country from the top 5 leagues and the champion of the Champions League plus Europa League, that makes 7 teams and 12 matches for each team. The champion of England, France, Italy, Germany, Spain is given automatic spots. 12 matches is more than most of the top money teams get in the UEFA Champions League now. Now, what if England demand the financial top 6 in England must be in the UEFA Super League, and the others accept it? Then you have 13 teams with 22 matches round robin. I can't see why countries will accept uneven entry numbers in a fiscal entry league. That'll only favor the country with the most members. But if they do, then the domestic championships are replaced by the UEFA Super League, for example. In 2019-2020, the coming league season, Chelsea, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, FC Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, PSG, Bayern, Juventus are no longer in the English Premier League, La Liga, Ligue 1, Serie A, Bundesliga. They will be in the 2019-2020 Super League. What happens in Zenit St. Petersburg becomes financially wealthy, or AC Milan or Inter Milan raise their fiscal profile, and Galatasaray increase their fiscal profile. Sooner or later, the Super League will need a relegation and promotion. Sequentially, the UEFA Super League will eventually need a relegation and promotion. But why will someone look at second or third tier UEFA Super League over the EPL La Liga, even barring the English top 6 or the Spanish top 3? I repeat, a club's fiscal worth is the key, but the merit is the door that opens it, and the merit need be even. Instead of accepting every team whose financial ledger is above a rank countries based on the fiscal height of their wealthiest club. Thus, if St. Petersburg grows fiscally stronger than Bayern Munich, the German league is relegated and Russia takes its spot. In this way, the number of countries remains 5, and the fiscal quality is the basis for relegation promotion of a league having an entry. So at this point, the UEFA Super League is a 7-team league with fiscal relegation or promotion by country, with country slots filled in by top-flight champions, with the champion from the countries with the 5 largest clubs financially delineated by geography. That means that 2019-2020 edition will have, as I've structured it, Manchester City, PSG, Barcelona, Juventus, Bayern Munich, Liverpool or Tottenham as the Champions League winner, Chelsea or Arsenal as the Europa League winner. They will provide, using a round-robin style, 12 matches each. A lot of money. But what of the smaller clubs or bigger clubs regionally? I have a simple solution. A confederation-wide, meaning across UEFA, League Cup rule. The rule is every club must be in one league, one cup. One-off tournaments like Super Cups or the Club World Cup are not included in this. What does this mean for 2019-2020? In England, Manchester City is in the EPL and the UEFA Super League. Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal are in the EPL and the Champions League. Manchester United, Wolverhampton, Everton are in the EPL and the Europa League. All the remaining teams from 2018-2019 season in the EPL and all the teams in 2018-2019 in the English Championship outside the relegated are in the Football League Cup. The remaining teams in the English table are in the FA Cup. All the smaller fiscal clubs are getting a cup competition warranting their position, each with a higher fiscal reward. In leagues like France or England that has two cups and warrants a Super Cup entry, they will work as I described them. In leagues like Spain, Germany, Italy, where only one domestic cup exists, while they warrant a UEFA Super League entry, the top tier champion will get the UEFA Super Cup, the next four the Champions League, the next three the Europa League, and the remaining entirely will get the Coppa del Rey, Coppa Italia, DFB Cup, respectively. In all the other leagues in UEFA, top two or top three will get the UEFA Champions League, the next two or three will get the Europa League, and the remaining will get the domestic cup beside their domestic championship duties. It decongests UEFA, gives more ability for smaller teams to compete for something valuable at their level in terms of cup competition, while also maintaining the honesty of relegation and promotion. Over time, maybe Russia, Turkey will join England, Spain, Germany, Italy, France, and warrant 7 teams. As the number of countries grows to the UEFA Super League, then the Europa League winner will go back to gaining entry into the Champions League, and the Champions League winner will alone gain entry into the Super League, absent the financial condition. This can mean an Ajax, Porto, Galatasaray, Zenit can still get into the Super League through the Champions League winning window. And over time, if multiple seasons progress, where at least two teams are over the financial bar for the Super League from at least 9 countries, then an 18 teams league can be made up of two teams from 9 countries each. Two spots given to each from the 9 countries in a round robin mode, replacing domestic championship play. The UEFA Champions League winner still gaining entry, and the Super League participants joining the top domestic competitions in their country, going back to that League Cup standard. In this way, money dictates the Super League, but it slowly grows from a short championship replacing the UEFA Champions League for a select few, and grows more and more into a standard-sized championship that replaces domestic championships for a select few based on financial conditions and athletic quality. And relegation promotion can still apply. The bottom three drop down from the UEFA Super League into their domestic championships, and the winners of their top domestic championship promote upward, thus keeping teams honest. Well, that is the end of my Super League idea. What do you think? Contact me on ALBC blog, linked in the description to this audio, or on my Twitter page, the Tenor 10, THETNNER10. Now, 25th minute and 40 seconds, UEFA Champions League spot segments. Gary Bailey's reasoning to why Getafe is better off in the Europa League explained why the League Cup rule I stated for my Super League structure concept mentioned before has value. One cup, one championship makes it smoother for all clubs to focus on two competitions based on their level. In Italy, I am happy Juventus drew with Atalanta. I hope the goddess can rise. Conte to Inter is unfortunate, but Kay made a great point. Allegri or Spalletti is publicly speaking on issues, probably aided their way to the door. 30th minute and 11 seconds, relegated segment. Girona is stunned, but they are another case in La Liga where away form is better than the home form. Monaco are not relegated, but got a win over Amiens, and they are not safe yet. This coming weekend will be very interesting. 32 minutes and 53 seconds, Liga MX segment. Lyon versus Tigres. Liga MX Finals first match is today. Actually, yesterday, I should say, at the time of this audio recording. So definitely tell me what happened. I thought Tigres would win, but I missed it because I was watching the Recopa Sudamericana where Chapecoense defeated River Plate 1-0. It's just the first leg, though. 33 minutes and 1 second, the MLS segment. San Jose's Chris Wondolowski broke the all-time record for career regular season goals. Congratulations to him. I know he's a warrior and really been fighting hard to get there. 33 minutes 57 seconds. Kay gave Gary Bailey's career a segment time. Kay asked Gary to speak on the differences on the generations. And I looked at it, he made a good point on how goalkeepers were not protected and thus had to be very physically tough to be a keeper, which is not really the way it is today. The referees protect keepers today, so you can have a short keeper, small keepers, or keepers that really don't want to get into a lot of contact. Also, today clubs own the um, Clubs don't own the contract today, whereas in the past they did. Today the salary is safe and the player can rest. I think his point is interesting in a fitness way that he didn't mention, though. People say players today have better fitness, but in the way Gary Bailey explains it, the truth is players yesterday were given no option but to play because their salaries were too small to risk not getting paid and were only given upon appearances and success, especially in UEFA. I argue that in Kobo, many players at clubs are still playing under rules where they need to appear, need to perform, and thus changes the culture to the teams, as failure is too costly for the players, whereas in UEFA, failure really isn't costly at all. I like how Kay mentioned that when she was a kid, players had to live in with residents in digs, in the cities they played in. While today, Gary reflected on how 16-year-old kids at the training grounds of Manchester United are millionaires. Bailey admitted how he came from relative opulence in South Africa and was lucky to be strong enough to survive the hard living and unsocial isolation of being a youth player for Manchester United. I love his honesty to George Best, not handling it at Manchester, that kind of digs life, that Ronin life. Interesting point he made on England. Bobby Robson was an early user to describing tactics heavily in England. Gary was lucky to play for Robson and Ferguson. He has had a really great career, and I think that explains why his insights tend to be so sharp. He admitted that being locked in a contract made him appreciate being in Manchester United. I think that's an interesting point because many people in the media world today, just regular folks, have been saying that the players don't feel it for Manchester United, but the players are so safe financially; they don't have to risk, they don't have to have that kind of madness of winning that I think older players had to have. Gary Bailey learned to make the best of it. It's an interesting personal lesson from him on what one had to do if they wanted success. 49 minutes and 43 seconds, the power ranking segment. 10 is Galatasaray, Galata Palace, Turkish champions. 9 is big names moving on or retiring. Daniel De Rossi, the captain that was, Barzagli for Juventus. Diego Godin is leaving Atleti for Inter Milan. He's not retiring. 8 was Iron Robin and his beer tipping. In his last game for Bayern, he seemed so like Iron Robin. This guy is kind of making the best of his last moments. I hope he goes somewhere and still plays a lot because I think he has a lot to give in all earnest. 7 is La Liga debutants, Sergio Cameo, Atleti debut, and Perez for Barcelona. 6 is Santi Cazorla, who's returned to the Spanish flag team. It's great work to get back to being the best after so many really really tough injuries. 5 is defending league titles. Manchester City, PSG, Barcelona, Bayern, Juventus. Gary suggests time for a Super League, but if none of them win next season, does that mean the system is just fine as it is right now without a Super League? Anyway, 4 is Major League Soccer, the new goal king, Wondolowski, career goal king. Congratulations to him again. 3 is Manchester City winning the domestic treble, English Premier League, English Football League Cup, and the Football Association Cup. 2 was my Olympic Lyonnais Feminine thrashing Barcelona women to win 4 straight UEFA Champions League. Aleol! And 1 is Cryptic Messages, which is odd, from Kike Setien and Mbappe Zidane. Special mention to Messi, who earned his 6th Pichichi Award, meaning the best goal getter. Iago Aspas had a legendary career this year with 20 goals, saving Celta Vigo. I want to end my note with saying that Gary Bailey did very well in his virginal football crazy. Uh, thank you.